How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Today I wanted to discuss the matter of artificial intelligence. There have been a lot of claims being made by news organizations in the West about artificial intelligence in the past couple of months that have actually, just quite frankly, upset me because they are false and they are basically just false reporting. And they are sensational, false, and misleading to the public. They've been making claims that companies in both in Europe and in the United States of America are replacing graduates, university graduates, with artificial intelligence. What a wild claim to make. And one would think that if someone is going to make such a wild claim, they will have concrete and irrefutable evidence for it. But no, they couldn't be bothered with having evidence. They couldn't be bothered at all. So a couple of weeks ago, I came across an article which was published by a British newspaper titled CTM, that's a British newspaper, which made some wild claim that the big four companies in the United Kingdom were reducing their recruitment of accounting auditing graduates with artificial intelligence. And then obviously I go deep, I read the article to find out that maybe, okay, let's see what do they have, what do they know that we don't know, only to find out that they don't have any data at all or any evidence that points to the fact that the big four auditing firms in the United Kingdom, that obviously that will be Deloitte, Ernst and Young, and KPMG, and what's the other one? PwC are replacing accounting graduates with AI. Instead, what they did have was that what has been noticed was a trend in a reduction in recruitment of accounting graduates year on year in the past couple of years. They didn't state how many years. And also seeing that these companies were also spending more and more on AI tools. But the author fails to show a connection between these two events. Not only does the author fail to show the connection between these two events, the author does not even pretend to attempt to show any connection between these two events. Any connection, whether correlation, let alone the highest standard of proof, which would be a causality relationship. So instead, what this author of this article in this newspaper in the United Kingdom relies on a fallacy in argument logic, which is known as cum hoc ego propter hoc, which is a Latin for with this, therefore because of this. This is to say, this is a fallacy in argument logic, which has been well known over the years to the point that it's been defined that there are sometimes people who are arguing things to be related or correlated or even causing each other. They fall into this fallacy of saying we observe this event happening and we also we observe event A happening and we also observe event B happening at the same time, and then we conclude without showing that these two events somehow are related. This is the kind of arguments and reasoning that you would find when it comes to these very wild, speculative claims that companies and hiring managers are somehow replacing university graduates with artificial intelligence. And the thing is, these lies are repeated so often enough in the Western media that a lot of people tend to start to believe them. Because the thing is, once a lie gets spread far enough and wide enough and repeated enough, people start believing that something is true, even if the initial claim was never proved. No one bothered to actually to show any evidence to back this claim. But because it has been repeated so much, it has become part of our body of knowledge that people actually believe it to be true, even though it's not true. To the point that when you are disputing it, you become the person who is considered, oh, you're anti-scientific, oh, you're anti this and that. But these people are not following any particular kind of scientific method to prove the claims that they are making. Last week, CBS also made another unfounded and unsubstantiated claim that hiring managers in the United States of America are actually replacing graduate engineers in this particular instance with artificial intelligence. Like, can you imagine? Because engineers are one of the most sought after skilled workers anywhere in the world. So if a newspaper article comes and says that engineers are being replaced by artificial intelligence, one would assume that the person who's making this claim would actually come and provide evidence for this. But no. And the quality of reporting in the US in particular, it is so bad. These people follow no kind of journalistic ethics or editorial ethics code. They just say whatever they want to say. And in this particular instance, this news article, which was actually covered live on CBS television, CBS News Television, started with them interviewing a mechanical engineering graduate who had graduated, I'm thinking it's a couple of months ago when he graduated, and it's been a couple of months that he can't find employment. And obviously this is actually especially in the United States in particular, it's quite unusual for a graduate engineer to not be able to find employment for this long, especially one who is American. And then they looked into, okay, here is one person, one graduate that they are finding who can't get employment. And then the story takes an arc where now they are saying, yeah, you know what, artificial intelligence is causing this kind of situation. Wait, where's the link? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof, if I'm going to use proof loosely in this particular instance? Because there are different standards when it comes to evidence and proof. Where's the evidence for this? Where's the evidence? And then they interview Oxford economists who also came issuing all kinds of speculations. Because I thought that if they are interviewing a tenured Oxford economist professor, he's going to come with data, evidence, statistics, demographic information, perhaps peer-reviewed papers, or some sort of surveys of some form. No, he came with nothing. And he's also coming with these wild speculations that, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we think, we believe. Folks. These people are lying to you. They're lying to you. If they were not lying to you, they will provide evidence for their claims. True, granted, they showed that the recent graduate unemployment rate in the United States currently is 66.6%, is higher than the average unemployment rate at 4.2%, which is to say the average unemployment rate in the US right now is 4.2%. It's lower than the graduate unemployment rate of 6.6%, and that this is also unusual. Graduate unemployment rate is often, in general, lower than the average unemployment rate of the United States, but in this particular case, it's higher by just around about 2%. And then now they are using this data now to say, okay, you see, this is evidence that AI is replacing graduate engineers. Folks, this is not news. This is sensationalism. This is false reporting. If you are going to make a claim as wild as to say that graduate engineers in the largest economy in the world, that arguably has more engineers employed there, both in the private sector and in academia and in the public sector, that they are being replaced by AI, you need evidence to show a correlation between this event and that event. You need to show evidence that hiring managers are making this decision in connection to that decision. You can't come and just spitball it and speculate on it and say, no, we think this is happening. That is not enough to say, no, we think it's happening. You need to show that it's happening. If you're making the claim that it's happening, the onus of proof is on the person who is making that argument. And here, these are two news reporting. One is an article, one was actually a broadcast on television, making similar or a same kind of claim. None of them even bothered to provide any evidence. Yeah, this kind of carelessness in reporting affects a whole range of other issues. Because imagine what happens with this kind of careless reporting when it comes to more divisive and thorny issues like politics, where we see that journalists are not even trying to verify the claims that they are making. They just go wild in speculation. Yeah, so I found it to be problematic and actually quite dangerous. And I must even go further and say, with regards to engineering in particular, I don't know about accounting and auditing, but when it comes to graduate engineers, currently, right now, in 2025, the work that is done by graduate engineers, whether you are in the United States, whether you are in the EU, whether you are in the United Kingdom, whether you are in Asia or South Africa, the work that is being done by graduate engineers right now cannot, I repeat, cannot be replaced by machines or AI. This work that is done by graduate engineers, which is the simplest form of work that can ever be done by engineers, can't be done by machines. Machines just simply don't have the requisite skills to do the work that is being done by graduate engineers. Engineers who have zero work experience, fresh from university, fresh from completing the 4-year curriculum, who have never worked in a plant before, who have never worked in a research lab before, who have never worked in any kind of context in an engineering setting. Machines and AI do not have currently the capacity to replace graduate engineers, which is to say that the claim that was made by CBS in particular is nonsense. It is utter nonsense. It is nonsensical on its face. And my thinking is that you're going to find more and more of these claims being perpetuated by journalists who don't care about the fact that the claims that they are making are actually false. So I'm just saying that folks, be very careful about these kind of media stories that you are reading, that you are getting exposed to about AI. There are all kinds of false claims about AI, like, teenagers are out here. Teenagers are out here doing what? They're out here in mass making money through AI-based businesses. We know that's not true. It is just simply not true. But we see a lot of those claims online, especially on YouTube advertising, Facebook advertising. Folks, you need to be diligent. There's a lot of fear mongering. I don't know if it's because they don't have anything to report on. I really don't know what it is. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, I've heard some of the most bizarre claims. Some of the most bizarre claims. And people who are making these claims don't even bother to apply any kind of standard of proof for their claims. Nothing. And the problem with these AI claims is that as soon as enough people are saying these things, and then you start hearing executives, especially in financial services, who have no expertise at all when it comes to artificial intelligence, start making these claims because they are trying to predict where the trends are going to go, but then they start making all these kind of wild claims. Let me tell you something. One thing is for sure. In 2025, artificial intelligence is not replacing engineers. It is not replacing doctors. It is not replacing computer scientists, IT professionals. It is not replacing mechanics, boiler makers, welders. It's not replacing technicians, technologists. It's even doubtful for me to think that artificial intelligence can replace accounting professionals. It's very doubtful for me. But I don't know enough about the accounting space to speak authoritatively about it. Yeah. Cheers, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments below.